going to do the examples from 4.4 and 4.5, talking about triangle congruence, okay? So we've gone over the 5 ways to prove that triangles are congruent and the 2 ways that don't work, okay? So now we're going to take those concepts and we're going to look at how you're going to see some of your problems. So for example, number 1, we're going to always start by having 2 triangles. First triangle on the left we'll call M, N, O. Second triangle on the right we're going to call, what is that one? P, Q, R. P, Q, R. And then I'm going to give you some information about the 2 triangles. So side MN over here is going to be 7 inches. Side NO is going to be 5 inches. Side MO is 6 inches. And then on the triangle on the right, QR is X, QP is X plus 2, and RP is 3X minus 9. Okay? So here's what we're asked to do. We are asked to prove that triangle MNO is congruent to triangle PQR when X equals 5. All right. So you want to notice the order, MNO and PQR. So we're going to start with the first 2 letters. We're going to see that MN should be congruent to the first 2 here, which are PQ. Okay? So we're going to take the measurements of those sides, whether it be numbers or whether it be algebra, and we're going to see if they're equal. If they are, then it's going to work out. If they aren't, then they're not going to be congruent. Okay, so on the side MN, we have a 7. On the side PQ, so PQ's right here, we have X plus 2. We want to take this 5 and plug it in. So does 7 equal 5 plus 2? Yes. So we have 7 equals 7. We say, yes, it works. And that was a side. So that gives us our first S. Okay. Now let's try the second 2 letters. So let's do NO, congruent to the second 2 letters here, which is QR. And we'll take their measurements. So NO says 5 inches. QR is, this one says X. So that one's pretty easy. When you plug in the 5, you get 5 equals 5 and 5 equals 5. So that's our second S. So far, so good. Okay? There's one more side, right? We haven't used the 6 inch and we haven't used the 3x minus 9. So the 6 inch is the MO. So the first and the last letter should be congruent to the PR. MO says 6. PR says 3x minus 9. And then we just want to plug our 5 in here. So we're going to go 3 times 5 minus 9. 3 times 5 is 15. And 15 minus 9 is 6. So we get 6 equals 6. So we say yes. And did we prove that triangle MNO is congruent to triangle PQR? Say yes, they are congruent. Triangle MNO is congruent to triangle PQR. And we used which of the 5 congruences? Side, 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 right? We wrote SSS. Okay. Any questions on example number 1 there? All right, example number 2. All right. So example number 2, you're going to draw the 2 triangles like this, and we saw something sort of like this yesterday. We're going to put some marks of things that I'm going to tell you that are congruent. So this angle and this angle are congruent, so we're going to put single arcs. And then this angle and this angle over here are congruent, so we're going to put our doubles. The question is, can we determine if angle side angle can be used? So from yesterday, we see that these 2 triangles have what we call a shared side. And if we were to pull these 2 triangles apart, that side would go with each of them, and they'd both be the same length, right? So I'm going to put a single tick mark on it because it's congruent to itself. And we actually end up using something called the reflexive property if we want to explain that, if you're asked to give a reason. And so, did we use angle side angle on these 2 triangles? We have 2 angles and we have a side, but is angle side angle the answer? No, it's not. Okay? No, you can't use angle side angle. Why not? It's not in between. What's the fancy word in geometry used for not in between? It's not included. Okay? So that side is not included. That side actually comes after. If we were asked about angle side, is that one of the 5 congruents? Yes. That one would work. Okay? But the question asked us angle side angle, so the answer is actually no. If they'd asked us angle side, we would have gotten a different answer. All right? Any questions on example number 2? All right, one more. Example number 3. This one's a little tricky to draw. Let me get this right. Oh, all right. Okay. So we've got kind of a fancy little drawing here. There we go. Help with that. There we go. And they want us to prove that triangle XYZ is congruent to triangle VYW. So you kind of want to, first thing is kind of tap out where that triangle's at. Why? Because how many triangles are there? There's more than 3. There's more than 4. There's more than 5.
8.
There's 6. Yeah, think about that for a minute. There's a lot of triangles there. So to be clear about which one is which, you want to tap out. Here's X, here's Y, here's Z. So we're talking about this small little triangle on the left, okay? We want to see that it's congruent to VYW. So the small little triangle on the right. So just by kind of looking at them, you go, yeah, they're probably congruent because one's not totally huge and one's not totally small. So it's possible, right? Okay. And then it gives you some information. So you want to take the information that they give you and start making some marks. Okay. So we talked about how important it is yesterday to make your arc marks on your angles and to make your tick marks on your side. It's going to be on your test and it's going to be worth points. Okay. So please make sure that you're putting them on there correctly. And if you have questions, let me know. Okay, so the first statement says that angle X is congruent to angle V. So here's X and here's V. So at each one, I'm going to make a single arc mark, just like that. So those two are congruent to each other. That gives us our first A. So over here on the right, I'm going to write an A, because it gives us an angle. If you want, put it in parentheses like that. Some people write the A or the S either on the left or on the right, just to kind of point it out, okay? So when we go back and look at the 5 congruences that work, we'll be able to know, okay, yeah, we use this, this, and this, so it'll make it a little easier for us. All right, second given is that angle YZW is congruent to angle YWZ. So YZW, that means this angle right here because the vertex is always in the middle, right? And then angle YWZ, so here's YWZ, W's in the middle, so that's this, oh, I should do double, sorry. Okay? Now, are these arc marks in the triangle, the 2 triangles that we're trying to figure out if they're congruent? No. So should I put an A? No. Okay. You guys see that? So it's kind of like they're trying to trick you, but don't be tricked. All right? But they are next to an angle that is inside the triangle. So you see this angle inside right here? If I were to extend these over and make this a triple, and this a triple, then we would say that angle YZX is congruent to angle YWV because they form what we call a linear pair. Right? If you add this angle and this angle, you're going to get how many degrees? 180. And if you add this angle and this angle, you're going to get how many degrees? 180. So if these two are congruent, then those two are going to be congruent. Now can I write an A? Are these 2 angles inside the small triangles that are on the right and the left? Yes. So this is an A. So this statement right here is not an A because it's outside the triangle, but this one, because of it, is an A. Okay? All right. Now let's take that third statement. Third statement says that XY is congruent to VY. So XY is over here. I'm going to put a single tick mark. And VY, here's V, here's Y. That's this side right here, and I'm going to put a single tick mark. Is that an angle or a side? Side. So over to the right, I'm going to put an S. Okay? So if you want to flip over to the next page where we have our 5 triangle congruences that work, we need to determine of those 5 which one uses an A and an S and an A. Right? There's angle, side, angle. Is this angle, side, angle? Yeah. Are you sure? No. Look at it very carefully. Is the S included between those 2 sides? Or sorry, between those 2 angles? No. Okay? If it was, that tick mark would be in the middle over here. I don't know where we'd fit it because it's really small, but this isn't a